Oh, g'day, come on in. Hey, this is exciting. We're just planning our trip down to Tasmania. We're on the ferry, we're on our way, and this is where we're going to head. After arriving in Devonport, we're off to explore the wild west coast of Tassie. This place is a gold-plated bucket list special. In four-wheel driving terms, the two ends of Australia are the two most exciting. Do the Cape, do the map of Tasmania, and here we go. Doesn't matter how many times I come to Tasmania, I find something new to love about the place. It is the freshest air, the freshest water, the best tracks. I've come to decide that there's good tracks all over Australia, but the best ones are in Tassie, probably because there's more hills and there's more water. Food tastes great, people are great. I love Tasmania.
I've been to Tassie twice before, and it's a cool spot. You don't get a lot of people around. You get the tracks to yourselves, beautiful camping. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy, but it's part of the adventure. The driving is awesome. You don't have to go too far. You stick it in low range and away you go.
Here we go, guys, just south of the Arthur River, following the track along the coastline. Magnificent, isn't it?
Mate, what a spot. I have been as excited to actually see the countryside as Gleno was to see the map of Tasmania last night, and already she is not disappointing.
Mate, how good is it? You could call this Driftwood Beach.
I reckon. It was like this last time, but gee, there's a lot more wood. My immediate thought when I think of the mouth of the Arthur River is wild seas and logs. There's always logs there, but this time around, for some reason, there was heaps of logs. And obviously you've got the Tarkine forest. It was and has been a massive logging area. There's so much timber in there, it's unbelievable. And obviously when there's a lot of timber there, a lot of timber to be blown around, washed around, whatever. But you know what? That told me straight away, just the sheer presence of timber down there, that there's been some big time water activity. I might be just dropping some tyre pressure, I think, guys. We're into dune country.
Copy, copy.
We're just about to start running through a few sandhills, and before long we'll probably be down on the beach. Now, you know it's important to knock the air out of your tyres, but I'll tell you something very special about these West Coast Tasmanian beaches. You might have seen a famous photograph of me up to my knees with a silly looking hat on, and Milo sunk well below the batteries on the beach. Quicksand, okay? Yes, it does exist, and this is one of the places where you can get it. Now, what are you looking for? Well, there's a bit of a shimmy. The sand gets a bit of a shimmy up. In my experience, it's quite often caused by water up on the high side of the beach, a bit of a lagoon or something, and the water's coming back down underneath the sand. And what brings it to the surface normally is the first couple of vehicles. So it's usually about the third vehicle, and that's what it was that day, that sinks in. So what you're looking for is sand that seems to be shimmering, you know, as if the sea's just gone out, gets that kind of wet, shimmery look, and that's what'll take you, and it really will take you. If you get stuck in it, trust me on that, it was a 2-winch job last time. The other thing you want to watch out for is any kind of creek crossing. Whatever you do, if there's water running down the beach from a little creek, don't stop in it, because that's the other time you'll just go zoompa straight down. Don't let that put you off though, you know? Doesn't happen all the time, doesn't even happen a lot. You just need to be a little bit wary of it. And if you're really looking for the hard part of the beach, look down towards the sea, you know? There'll be a band there after that wet shimmery bit that should be pretty hard. And after all said and done, be prepared. Come and have some fun. So we've dived off the tar, we've gone down some easy dirt, and within a few hundred metres, Matt's bogged.
If you can get enough momentum kicking off in second, you might be able to slaughter into third to get a bit more momentum.
Yeah, I just dropped some max tracks in where the hump is.
Copy that.
More momentum.
Just the weight of the trailer. And I get he was just sort of getting used to the 79. It's the first time he's really driven it. Well, it's the first time he has driven it off-road with the trailer. So it normally takes a day or two to sort of get the feel and, you know, what gear you need to be in, what tyre pressures.
Yeah, mate, come back to where you were earlier. If those max tracks are there, they'll give you some traction as you fly over them.
I'm not going to get it, I think.
Might have to call John in, eh? You're going to be needed up here, mate, for either a bit of a winch over that hill or a snatchy.
Roger. Well, we don't have snatch capacity at the moment in M2, so it'll be a winch. Here I come. Well, that's what you get when you're towing. Obviously, you're always going to be the first one to cop a traction issue. It's just the nature of the beast. But it's also the nature of the West Coast.
Yeah, look, the silica content of the sand on the first day was an issue. Wasn't quite ready for it, so I got stuck. Well, thoroughly stuck actually. It was quite difficult to get out of there. Look, I was in high range, no diff locks. I wasn't really sure what was coming, and there was a bit of a bank, and I didn't want to go too fast, and I got stuck.
He went down, couldn't get up and over, and old Roothy had to come to the rescue, winch him out over the top.
It was probably a bit of a rough initiation. People don't normally expect to get into strife, you know, 300 or 400 metres after they've clicked it into four-wheel drive for the first time. But hey, that's Tasmania. A lot of people don't quite get it, you know. They see Tasmania, this little island down the bottom of Australia, you know, sort of shaped like an upturned triangle, and they don't understand that the west coast of Tasmania is one of the wildest places on earth.
Probably only been here once for like a short break with the wife, and just know that there's so much to see here, you know. Gleno and Roothy said, look, we're doing Tassie. We're going to do West Coast first. I was like, I'm in, I've got to go. Have to do it. And I've just heard about the variety of four-wheel driving, and that's what stood out for me so far, is just the variety you can get.
The west coast of Tassie, it's just known to be four-wheel drive haven, I suppose. It's wild, it's wet, it's windy. Great camping, not many people around. It's like the Mecca in Tassie.
There's nothing quite like Tasmania for beautiful green grass little campsites with fantastic views. You've got to be a four-wheel driver to find them though. That one we found coming down the beach, just turning up onto the headland, hey presto. It's as if someone's had the Rover mower with the rollers in there driving around, except that's not what's going on at all. I know Gleno was happy. He loves a nice green grassy campsite.
This was just welcome to Tassie, Gleno.
The scenery there is amazing, you know. It actually reminds me a lot of the west coast of New Zealand. The sand's a better colour though, because the west coast of New Zealand's quite often black. But yeah, absolutely spectacular. Little river crossing, green pasture, campsite. Mate, that's the dream. Could have just signed it off there, really. That was perfect.
Pretty cool little campsite, eh guys?
I gotta say, I just love the remoteness of that for where we are. You know, we're not that far away from a little town, and just feels like we're in the middle of nowhere, and it's pretty special to be here. So, what a spot.
Mate, it's the grassy knoll.
It's beautiful, and that's a natural clearing too.
A little bit chilly this morning, but that's what you get for Tasmania. But the sun's coming out, it's going to be a glorious day.
We often talk about dropping tyre pressures to suit the track conditions, but you've got to remember to pump them up, especially just before you hit the main road. Well guys, the plan is to try for the Balfour track, but they've had a fair bit of rain through here lately, and as you guys would have heard, there was a couple Westpac helicoptered out of there the other day, so it could just be shut by the time we get there. We'll have to find out.
These aren't words that I want to be hearing, Ruthie. I'm not kidding when I'm telling you I'm a bit apprehensive about too much water on the Balfour track, but you know, can have a go. Not 100% sure how I'll get on.
Well, Matt, John and I have done this one before, mate, and it was an experience. So let's see if that expedition floats.
Well, that's what it's going to be all about, I reckon, because last time we did it, Gleno, we had a troop carrier float through in front of us.
Yeah, that deep water, I remember watching the fish go across the windscreen.
Oh, it's strap an outboard on the back of the expedition. You can sit on top of the fish on the way through if you want, Gleno.
Oh, this weather's getting a bit wild. Look at the wind.
we're right at the beginning of the Balfour. There's a sign at the front that says winches and snorkels required, and they're not kidding. And they also say that you should always travel in a convoy, a couple of vehicles at least, and they're not kidding about that, because it's an old railway track, you know, and so that makes it reasonably straight. There's no rails there now. There's still a fair bit of gravel on the bottom of it, but at the end of the day, you know, I've had the water over the bonnet for a lot on this track. Old Milo was pretty good in water. New Milo should be pretty good too. I say should, because we still haven't plumbed some of the depths that this track can do. But at the end of the day, it's all about preparation and getting here with good vehicles and good friends.
Just enough to create a bow wave, boys.
Well, quite frankly, every time I've done the Balfour track, and I'm thinking it's got to be close to a dozen now over the years, every time I've got a wet arse, okay? It's as simple as that. And the driest I've ever seen it, I got a wet arse. This time around, it was up there with some of the wettest bits of Balfour I've ever seen.
Famous Balfour track. I'd done the Balfour before, 2011, and it was horrendous. Bucketing down rain, everything was full. And when we come to do the Balfour this time, it was wet. It had been raining for days. A few, I suppose, butterflies happened for me. I was chosen to be the lead vehicle in the Luxie, which I'd never had off-road before. Yeah, I was a bit nervous.
Heard about the Balfour, seen some shots of the Balfour, didn't think we were taking the trailer on the Balfour. All of a sudden, we're deep Balfour. Like the first bit, you know, I was nervous, really nervous. These things, you get them in the water and it's slapping underneath and you can hear it and you're like not sure what's happening, and we got straps up everywhere, and like we were well prepared, but I was still, yeah, that was the start of a bit of nervousness for the day.
Another water hole in front of me, guys. That hit the notorious long puddle, I suppose you could call it, of the Balfour. Second gear, low range. Just hope the Luxie has got enough weight to keep it going. So I don't feel like floating in high spot. Here we go, just got to bend the deep hole here. Go the Luxie. Just before the end of that big long one, there's a bit of a bump. Just watch out for it.
Copy that. Famous last words. You can hear that water underneath, right?
Coming through. Milo 2 keeps the water out better than Milo 1 because it's got less holes in the floor. There's that big bump. It's just too easy.
I think the longest water crossing I've done before now would be the Pentecost River. And we went there and it was pretty dry. So, you know, that much water. We're doing these water crossings and they're just, you know, I could have swam in it.
What did surprise me, there's actually now a few patches where the old railway hard base is worn away and you can sink. That was never a feature of the Balfour. The Balfour was always about, as long as your vehicle didn't float, you get some traction somewhere and you get through, you know. But at the end of the day, The hard surface that was laid down all those century ago now, a lot of that stuff's washed away in a few places. There's a few places you can get bob. You know what that does? Adds to the interest.
This looks a bit treacherous.
Getting in there and you're not even 10 metres into that track and you're underwater. It's like, welcome DustemUp.
Yeah, it's the deepest we've been in. That's over the bonnet.
14.5 kilometres of pure off-roading.
Oh, the feeling of relief when you're within a winch cable of the other guys. You get to the bottom of the Balfour, you're on the coast. So we swing a left, we're going south.
And we come across another grassy knoll. Just beautiful, picturesque.
And once again, it was as if someone had mowed it.
It's perfect. Yeah, it was amazing. Nailed 2 of those.
It was just magic. This place really turned it on for us.
Okay, so we're going to cook a pie. And this is Tasmania, the old convict state, where a whole lot of Irish people got sent after the big rebellion in Ireland. And because our mate Gleno is as Irish as they come, and because being Irish means loving meat and potatoes, okay, this is going to be Gleno's Guinness pie. You're wondering where the Guinness came from? Well, that was just an excuse to buy some. It's fairly simple, very tasty. And this is how it goes. Some oil, curry powder, a goodly sprinkle of garlic, a couple of big wedgies of that. This is onion. Okay, so just get those onions going with the garlic and the curry powder. And then this here is chuck steak chopped up at the butcher's. So we'll get all that happening and then we'll come back and see what else goes in this. Off comes the lid. Now at this stage we've probably like half cooked the meat. We'll certainly cook the onion. And this is where it steps out into the weird side of things, just a little bit. Balsamic vinegar, Worcestershire sauce, soy sauce. Soy is our salt content. Now, the important part here is to make sure you taste the Guinness. In it goes. Going to give that a bit of a mix. And what you're aiming for here, because it's a pie, is you kind of want like a gravy-like mixture. So next thing to go in here is potato gems. You can't have beef and potato and not have some peas in there somewhere. This is all happening really nicely. Now, I'm going to put the lid on for a minute while I mix up our thickener. This is Gravox. It happens to be chicken Gravox. I'm going to use quite a lot. I'm going to use about half this tin in half a cup of water. So it's going to make a bit of a paste. There we go. This is bush honey. This is the fabulous cock sauce. In she goes. What I'm going to do now is basically cook these ingredients on the gas here with the lid on before we apply the pastry and whack it in the fire to finish it off. Righto, here we are back again. Things are looking really good. What we're going to do, before I put the pastry on, I'm actually going to layer this with cheese. Double it up. Oh, double it up. All right. Throw away the rule book, guys. We're going to go hard here. Doubling up on the cheese. There we go. And next, puff pastry. The trick here is to do it in segments. There we go. Now, when you do this, it's absolutely crucial that you get an egg, give it a bit of a mash up, give it a nice little egg over. That'll make the pie crunchy. The lid goes on, and then this, and our other little surprise, spuds rubbed with a little bit of butter and with 3 layers of alfoil. We take the fire over now and turn it into our cooking oven. We're just going to make it a little pad. We don't want too much heat in the bottom of this. I want the best of the coals on the lid of the pot like that. So all we've got to do now is give this about, I reckon, half an hour, which is just enough time for a beer. Oh, look at that. Yeah, baby. That's done beautifully.
The Gleno Guinness pie. Well, thanks, John. I like it when he names something after me. Sensational.
Roothy, he's a sauce guy, and a pie is a sauce meal. So I had to try it. He'd spent some hours, slaving over it. He put his heart and soul into it. And the potato gems, that got me interest as well. So yeah, like I had some pastry and some sauce. It was delicious. He did a great job.
I think anyone who enjoys eating is eventually going to enjoy cooking. you know. Might take a while, but you'll get there. And I know that Gleno enjoys eating, and I know he enjoys cooking. And I've reached a stage where I really enjoy cooking for people who enjoy eating.
He's got some skills in the camp oven, tell you.
Well, you know, I like Matt. Matt is a very brave guy. He's sailed all over the world. He's skippered yachts in the Hobart. You know, he's done some amazing things, but we egged him on, didn't we? The water was like ice, and I just can't believe that he went for it.
It's like maximum 8 degrees, the wind's blowing. The sun was sort of out that morning, but oh man, maybe he thought that the water temperature was going to be better than the outside temperature. But he is a Kiwi. I don't try and understand him, I just learn to live with him.
No, look, I needed to freshen up. Thought it'd be cold. It was very cold. Water's beautiful though, nice and clear. It was a bit of a walk, it was raining. Didn't really set the best picture, but.
Possibly the world's fastest swim, measured in nanoseconds, but I know where he's coming from because I didn't even put a toe in the water that day.
Why not? Have a swim. Probably won't do it again.
We're in Tasmania. Tasmania is that little triangular bit south of Victoria, south of the mainland of Australia. And here it is in December, which is traditionally one of the hottest months in Australia, a land full of deserts and sunshine and tropical areas. And look at me, because it's freezing. We're on the west coast of Tasmania. This is one of the most unique places on earth for a whole lot of reasons. A long time ago, it used to be part of the mainland, you know? And at that stage, people and animals came through, and then it separated, and the sea between is one of the wildest seas on earth. And so Tasmania developed all on its own. And here on the west coast, which stretches all the way from the Tarkine forests in the north to the southwest wilderness areas, there's only a couple of places you can get close to the coast on a sealed road. The rest of it is tracks and sandy little beach breaks and crossing the beaches themselves. And that makes it one of the least visited places on earth. And when you get here, it's just amazing how beautiful it is, because this is Mother Nature in her most wild and natural state. It's a phenomenal place. I've seen storms on the west coast here where fairy penguins have been blown off the top of the waves and up onto the beach. I've seen rain coming down here horizontally. Maybe that's why people don't come here very often, but I can tell you, you need to come and have a look. You're going to need a four-wheel drive to explore this country, but it is the absolute wilderness of Australia, and it's just a marvellous place to have a look at.
It had been raining, as you know, some deep puddles, sitting behind the zone expedition, watching it doing its rocking and rolling. Yeah, it was just a really cool track to get out of there. You know, we stuck it in low range for 2 days. Didn't take it out of low range. How good's that?
All right, guys. Well, I think the next stop we'll see if we can low range it all the way to Montezuma Falls. Even if we hit the tarmac, I don't want to go out of low range.
Get used to it, don't you? You gotta love it. Put it on low range and off you go.
Well, we sort of got rained out. We came across the fat man on the barge, and it was raining. It's been raining all day. It looked like it was going to rain into the night too. In fact, it did. So we hightailed to a bit of a favourite of mine, Queenstown. I love Queenstown. Old mining town, like most of these on the west coast. First time I went through Queenstown was in the late 70s, and it was bald as me mate Chuka. Bald for miles and miles around, and the river, you know, you could, crystal clear water, it was almost luminous, like something out of The Simpsons. And when they said this place has been poisoned by acid rain, yep, fair enough, it has. This time around, it's the most joyous I've seen Queenstown. It's a beautiful place. There's so much going on there now because the place is blooming and blossoming. It's been what, 60 years? And it's regenerated. And the mood of the people has changed. Mother Nature, yes, done it again. What an awesome place. Beautiful buildings, great trains, lovely food, great pub.
So the track out to Montezuma, I think it says it's an easy track. We talked to one of the guys in the pub the night before actually, and he said it was wet, and you know, there's lots of holes and tight turns, and that's really tight turns, that's where the trailer stays. So we left it behind.
Every lucky man and his dog has done Montezumas, I guess. Certainly a lot more than had ever done it before. There's a fair bit of traffic, and you know what's happened? It's still flat, it's still level, it's just got huge, great potholes in it now. Montezuma's track is everything a great four-wheel driving track should be. Oh, here we go. Got interesting all of a sudden.
That didn't take long.
You want to watch that one a bit, that puddle, that deep puddle with the log in it. It's a real slider into the bank. Come in on the left if you can.
Whoa.
What an experience that was. I think that was around 15 kilometres each way as well. And it was an experience. Low range as soon as you get in, and you leave it in low range till you get out.
This is the first time I've brought a gun to a gunfight as far as the vehicle goes. And you know, I really needed to, because the truck was making up for my ability, or lack of ability. But we did drive in there, and obviously again I'm nervous. This is a new truck.
Because we had Matto in the 79, because you know the 79s, they get that, they just feel awkward on side angles. And just talking Matt through areas and what gear to use, rear locker in, front locker in. Just a really good experience to have someone who admittedly is new to it. He just took to it like there's nothing else.
Nice little wet areas, ruts, again the angle, tight turns. Yeah, I loved it.
I am so surprised with the ground clearance. Suspension, diff, approach and departure angles of the Luxy. This is actually a real pleasure to drive off-road.
I have never seen anything so beautiful. That water flowing over there, walking across that rope bridge.
Yeah, I love that. I was not expecting it. 104 metres of sheer waterfall, and it had been raining obviously the day before, so there was a lot of volume coming off the top.
We get to the wire rope bridge, Matt's in front of me, and he just straight away just steps on out there, you know. And I thought, oh yeah, I've got Gleno behind me. I guess if anything, I'd rather have Matt on the bridge and I step onto it than have Gleno come on too, you know. But I'm stepping out onto it, and this thought goes through my head, you know. I couldn't help it. I thought, I wonder if this is one of those do it on the dole projects, you know. And I had this sudden vision of all these long-haired hippie greenies sitting around smoking dope trying to tie a cable across a river, and it freaked me. Just for a minute, it freaked me right out.
I also quite enjoyed seeing Roothy be a little bit tentative on the bridge.
As soon as I got out there, it was easy, of course, it always is. It's just that first step. It's like taking a journey. First step, doesn't matter what you do, take the first step, then you're right. It's got to be one of the most spectacular sights in Australia. Well, as you probably know, the Montezuma Falls track, that's Montezuma Falls, follows an old railway line, and you can see that in the way it's reasonably gradual most of the way and cut through the rocks, you know, which is also why it's such a great track to drive, because it collects so much moisture in those little V's that it gets really up and down and puddly. Now, years ago, I'm pretty sure it was a Devonport four-wheel drive club, came through here, because I used to drive here all the time, and they got rid of most of the nails, you know, the spikes that hold the tracks down to the sleepers. There's still quite a few sleepers around, you see those, but of course those spikes would have put paid to any four-wheel driver coming in here, wouldn't they? Wouldn't last for too long. But there's a photo here of the train in 1908 crossing on a trestle bridge right in front of the falls, so probably just in there somewhere, I reckon.
Footage right there.
Oh, there it is there.
The sleepers hanging down in the grass. Yeah.
Okay, so how amazing is that, hey? What a feat of engineering. The Montezuma silver mine, which is that away, must have really turned out some silver. Because imagine the infrastructure cost in those days, you know, turn of the century before last, and they go and whack in a whole railway all the way through this country, cutting their way through so much rock it's not funny. And most of it's still here, and you better come along and have a look, because that, when it's got a little bit of water in it, that is the most impressive waterfall in Australia, by far.
What do you reckon we got today going up Mount Huxley then, guys? Is it similar to yesterday?
I don't know, I've never been there. This is going to be interesting. I've done heaps of four-wheel driving out of Queenstown. I can't believe I've never been up Mount Huxley track.
I think it's going to be straight up in the air, Matt.
Oh, I got a fresh pair of undies on today, so I'm ready for it.
Wet in places still, isn't it?
I've got a feeling this is going to get exciting, you know.
Yeah, it's just starting to get a little relaxed, so I don't reckon she's going to be a challenge.
Righto, Luxy. Never let me down yet.
First gear or second gear, boys?
First gear, mate.
Roger. Coming up. Yeah, copy that. They're a little bit slippery.
Almost right from the start, you're climbing, and you've got water crossings, and you've got rocks, and you've got loose shale, and you've got so many different things. And then you're sliding back down again, and then you've got the sharp elbows that you kind of get used to in the high country, where you've got rock step-ups on one side and holes on the other, and it's all cockeyed. It's not the way it should be. So you've got situations where you've got to be really secure in your vehicle, because you know you're hanging a wheel out in the air somewhere.
That Mount Huxley track it typifies a four-wheel driving in Tasmania. We were 3 or 5 kilometres out of Queenstown. We'd just left, basically a little random turn off, you know, and we aired down and we were straight into some reasonably technical climbs and descents.
It was probably the best view of the hills around Queenstown I've ever had in my life.
Well, the Mount Huxley track, it's classed as a beginner's track, but definitely after a bit of rain, which we've had, it's more of an intermediate. It's more our DustemUp style. We, you know, we've done all the tough stuff and, you know, our previous adventures, and it was good fun. You know, it's nothing like sort of climbing waterfalls and those sorts of tracks. But the repair bills can become huge. So, you know, what we figured out is there's so much of this country to see and do that we don't want to break our cars getting there. So we're more about touring, not trashing. Sure, we have our times of of heartache when we've got a serious bet. That's all part of the adventure as well. But our whole trip, it's not hardcore forward driving. It's about the touring, it's about the sights, it's about the journey, it's about travelling with mates, and that's what you guys do. That's what we do. That's what we all do. So, Mount Huxley track, fantastic beginner's track. Come and learn some skills. You don't need to have all the equipment under the sun. Obviously be prepared. It's good to travel in a convoy if something should happen. But get out there, have some fun with it. Touring, not trashing.
Once we got there, I was checking myself going, are we in high country here or is this Tasmania, you know? Because you come around the corner and there's just mountain views and you're elevated, you know, nice ridge lines. Yeah, that was a good find.
Great track. I'll be back to do that again. Well guys, apart from a few things like the old gate over there and a couple of water crossings with little bridges and bits and pieces, this is what's left of Linda. And this used to be called the Linda Valley, and it was a mining town, big time mining town. But the funny thing is, it was mining the same mine that the Queenstown town is built for, you know. But they were mining from the other end of Mount Lyell, so it was pretty full on for a while. It was even part of the railway line. But the funny thing is here, okay, this is known as a ghost town, and I think there's a lot of disappointment involved in the town of Linda, because it was going to be the big place, and then all the action went to Queenstown. And the worst thing is that the action started to go in 1903. And did either of you guys see when this was built?
Yeah,
1910.
In 1910, 7 years later. So somebody's got invested big time in the town of Linda just when it's going straight off the edge. There's history all over Tassie. There's ghost towns all over Tassie. And when we say ghost towns, we don't just mean towns that used to have people that don't have people anymore. We mean towns that have had a history, and maybe there's a reason that they're called ghost towns. And Linda was a perfect example, I reckon. That was a little bit of a spooky place. Even the way the old building was propped up as if to say, yeah, don't come in here, you know, you could wind up being a ghost yourself. It was spooky. Horsetail Falls, look out. What a waste of space. I've never seen so much effort put into constructing a boardwalk to see someone holding a hose over the back of a wheelbarrow full of dirt.
It was my idea to go for a walk. Another waterfall, Mother Nature. Beautiful. Not as big as Montezuma.
Look, I think we were probably a little bit spoiled on waterfall by that stage. Nothing was coming close to Montezuma.
You turn the hose up a bit.
I don't know what we were doing there.
The things to do around here, if you're an explorer and you want to feel like you've gone back in time, this is the place to go. It's a really cool place.
What was Glenn thinking? We could see it from the road. Right, so the boys, they're not aware of this, but they're not having bacon this morning, okay? Too many pigs have died on this trip. I don't eat meat, doesn't mean we can't have a good breakfast. So we're doing a corn fritter with halloumi cheese, right? So there's some fresh ingredients. These bad boys here, a couple of carrots. So I'm gonna chop them, and then I'm gonna grate them. I'll fill the bowl up and then maybe pop back and we'll get on to the next step. All right, now that the grating marathon is finished, you can see the juices coming out. So you keep doing that, get as much moisture out as you can. The star of the show, the halloumi. Just give it some dicing. The recipe basically calls for 1 carrot, 1 zucchini, 100-gram pack, half a cup of corn kernels, some of the old green onion there, and 2 eggs. Put a bit of flour in there, mix it all up, and then we're gonna be frying them off. Alrighty, I'm just gonna use my hands because I wanna compact it a little bit as I go in, because I still am pretty juicy here. Oh, this is gonna be a big one, be a Gleno size one, that one. So you just wanna sort of fit as many in the pan as you can, but you don't want to crowd the pan. Crowded pan is a bad pan. You want to brown them up and then flip them over. You should be ready to eat, fellas. Try and get some good slices of avo over the old onion. There she is. Righto fellas, here she is. The zucchini halloumi fritter.
Matt's breakfast on the last day, fritters with all the corn and whatever else was in it. Yeah, look, I'm a bacon and eggs man.
Yeah, tough one. I don't know if I'd be able to crack the egg with those guys. They're pretty meat friendly.
You're not going to record this, are you? Because I'm going to say it, okay? The fact is, those vegan corn fritter things were just awesome. They were fantastic. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm going to go vegan, but if I was, I'd be having corn fritters a fair bit.
They still got their bacon in there. I could hear it. Glenn kept denying he was cooking bacon, but I had a feeling.
So I had to quickly nip off and do some bacon. 2 kilos to be exact, just for the lads to share on their plate with their fritters. But mate, fritters were good. I'd have him back anytime. He can cook fritters for me whenever he wants.
I thought that Glenn would struggle to go without the bacon. But look, you know, I wanted to cook something for the team and something tasty that didn't necessarily need meat, and I think it was well received.
Well, we're not too far off the top of Mount Charles by the look of it, man.
This has been a cool little drive. It's not all that much traction with full pressure in the tyres, but
You did well to get the trail through, Matt.
I reckon. Another great effort from you, Matt. I tell you what, this is pretty impressive country, isn't it, around here? I mean, it's obviously been some massive trees knocked down. What a way to finish up this trip.
yeah, beautiful countryside, mate. Like you said, it's a very fitting place to finish it up. A little bit of a change in scenery again, but Tassie, amazing stuff.
Right from the beginning, all the towns you drive through, you know, the waterfalls, you know, the deep water puddles, all that sort of stuff. It's certainly got it all. Some beautiful green grassy campsites too.
That's a particular love of yours, isn't it, Gleno? A nice green grassy campsite.
Yes, it is a love of mine.
Oh, this trip's had it all.
Matt Johns, Matto, top bloke. Very passionate about what he does. Leading edge, like caravan building in the world. You know, very smart, intelligent.
I loved the fact that he'd stick his balls on the line four-wheel driving. He wasn't whinging about it. I loved the fact that he'd hop into the icy water. I loved the fact that he'd take all that vegan stuff we kept throwing at him and just give it back, you know?
Roothy and Glenn, obviously, you know, had spent some time with them before in the desert. Basically wanted to come here and not be a handbrake again. and both of those guys are extremely knowledgeable. They're also very entertaining, you know, Roothy's stories and his knowledge base and Glenn's humour.
It really just gelled well with John and I. And when you're coming away on these trips, we're away for a few weeks at a time. And it really sort of tests people. God, John and I, we've been travelling together for 10 years. To bring someone in, yeah, episodes before, Matt and Dave came along. They sort of had their little group, but for Matt to come along and really gel with us and get along and just, he's one of the boys.
They are always willing to help with, you know, with me bettering my knowledge as well, you know, so I'm not afraid to ask, you know. So for me, it makes it a lot more enjoyable, right? Because I can come and I can learn and I can feel comfortable that, you know, I'm going to be able to get out of a sticky situation because I've got two experienced guys there to help me out.
Matty is one of life's real adventurers. You know, there's a reason he was a really good sailor. And I tell you what, he's a really good four-wheel driver. Just don't tell him yet, because I'd still like it if he asked me occasionally. That makes me feel good. So we're on the west coast, we're heading to the east coast, and we poke up Jeffrey's Track. Now, this is where it gets kind of weird, because all the way up Jeffrey's Track, I'm thinking, oh, this is amazing. You know, I've been through Tassie all over the place. Never knew about this track.
Not tough by any means. There's places where you can go where you could fall, you could bury your car in. Great way to end the trip. Low range all the way. But what was really memorable to me was the towns we drove through to get there. Absolutely beautiful place.
I was expecting some enjoyable touring and probably some challenging four-wheel driving. The scenery has just surpassed my expectations tenfold, you know. So I would absolutely give it 10 out of 10, right from getting on the ferry. You know, it's all an experience. And it's pretty much on your doorstep, you know. I mean, obviously we got to drive from Queensland, but if you're in Victoria, you know, you're not four-wheel driving unless you've done Tassie, I think.
Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but that has been one of the most spectacular trips I've ever done. The west coast of Tasmania is absolutely awesome. What a great place to finish it, eh?
Absolutely, mate. We've done it all. We've had beach driving, we've had water crossings, we've had ghost towns, waterfalls, good food, low ranging, lots of low range.
Lots of
Oh, so much low ranging.
bit of mud.
and the sights.
Yeah.
Unbelievable scenery.
Absolutely. Touring here is amazing. I have to
Touring
say.
here is amazing, and look at what we've just come through and come up here on Jeffrey's Track. We're on the top of Mount Charles, and we're probably, I don't know, 50, 60 minutes, maybe an hour from Hobart. Nothing. Well, there you go. That's another episode where we've managed to find new camps, new places, and new tracks in country that other people have been looking at for ages. I don't know how we keep doing it, but boys, it just gets better, doesn't it, eh?
Absolutely.
Good on you. See you in the next DustemUp. Oh, g'day, come on in. Hey, this is exciting. We're just planning our trip down to Tasmania. We're on the ferry, we're on our way, and this is where we're going to head. We're going to come in tomorrow into Devonport, which is over there, guys. I don't know why you tried to fool me there. And then we're going to run over to the northwest coast.
I have not seen a map of Tassie since the 80s.
Where do you go with that, Matt?
I don't know.
The ramifications of 2 gas cooking. We just hang out here for another hour and a half. This will warm up enough so it makes a sizzle sound. Compared to the induction heater, cooking on gas is like...
Yibbida, yibbida. Gleno rolling.
Roger.
Day 1, take 1. I am rolling.
when your mates get stuck. You pull out all those stacks.
Where's my fluffer?
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Lord Jesus, it's a bar.
Right, so the boys, they might still be sleeping. They're not aware of this, but they're not having bacon this morning, okay? Too many pigs have died on this trip. Oh, what is that?
Just the garnish. The garnish I did up front.
Oh, a bit of garnish. Thanks, Luke.
That's it. I quit.
Ha ha ha!